Morning guys, and welcome to Sunday morning church. I hope you're keeping well. Today you're joining me from my office here in the shed at Kangaroo Hill Ag in Nantwara. During seeding I had this great idea that I was going to record a message while we're out in the tractor busy seeding, and as it turns out it's a bit harder than I thought to hang on to a camera, hang on to some notes, and also make sure I wasn't going to hit a tree or a fence with the boom spray. So, you won't get to see me hard at work this morning, but what you will get to see is something even better, me sitting around doing nothing at work. So, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And today you're sitting in front of, the air seeder all washed up and put away because we've finished seeding. I hope you've all been enjoying the rain as much as I have, and hopefully it's going to continue and we're going to have a good season. So today I thought I'd start off by saying a big congratulations to you all. Well done, you're all doing a great job of social distancing and isolating so that we can beat this Wuhan virus. At the moment there's a bit of a level of excitement as restrictions are being eased, and who knows what restrictions will be in place or what will be lifted by the time you get to see this video, but it's all a bit exciting. But I just want to stress this morning that we need to be cautious as things reopen. Let's not forget to keep washing our hands and doing all those things that help beat this virus, because the only people that really want this virus to continue or to have another shutdown are the people that are making toilet paper rolls. So let's stay smart. Now hopefully you all received a message from Andrew and Rob this week saying about the church's plans at the moment. So for church gatherings at the moment we aren't having any, and our plan is that we're not going to have any until we're allowed to meet with 50 people in one location. And then when that happens, we'll probably have 2 services so that we can accommodate everyone. And we haven't restarted home groups yet because we just can't accommodate everyone with the 4 square metre rules in people's homes. It's just not practically possible. So hang in there, hang tight, and as soon as restrictions ease or something changes, you'll be notified. This morning you're probably hoping that I'm not going to talk about coronavirus, and no doubt you're probably tired of seeing it all day, every day on the news. And if that's you, please just stick with me because my talk this morning is coronavirus related, but hear me out because today's chat is all about the positive things about coronavirus and none of the negative things. So here we go. Jacinta and I, early on in the coronavirus pandemic, as things were starting to shut down, we completed a devotion called Christ Over Corona. Now this devotion was really beneficial because it focused our attention on all the positives during this isolation. There's obviously a pile of negative circumstances at the moment, but there's also so many great aspects during this time. And as Rob and others have been asking in recent weeks, getting us to think about the things that we want to bring with us post-COVID and the things that we want to leave behind, I thought I'd share some of the things that I definitely want to bring with us as we live life post-COVID. So, number 1, discipleship in our homes. I've absolutely loved seeing the increase in families pounding the pavement. It's been awesome to see husbands and wives out walking or kids riding their bikes with mum and dad. As I've been heading in and out to work every morning, I've actually got to be awake and alert to the amount of people that are on the roads and making sure I don't run over a pedestrian. The Lions Trail behind our house has been an absolute highway. There's been so much activity along there. With so many things cancelled, it's given us the opportunity to really spend time with the people that we live with. Our crazy busy schedules rarely allowed this time beforehand. Since sport's been cancelled, I've been able to come home from work at 5 o'clock and instead of getting home at 8 or 9 o'clock after footy training. And Saturdays have been free as well. And I've I've absolutely loved it. I've been able to spend more time with Jacinta and Henry. I've even heard of a couple of families that are in the situation where they, for the first time in their lives, can sit down with their families and have 3 meals a day at the kitchen table all together. Now that is unheard of in this day and age. It's so much easier as parents to raise kids when we're not flat out with our full schedules. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." Now let's just take a quick pause here. God's promises and God's proverbs aren't the same thing. And this proverb that I just read out is not a promise from God. Proverbs aren't absolutes. I find it easier to think about proverbs as advice or general principles. Now that doesn't make Proverbs any less important. In fact, the book of Proverbs is one of 3 books in the Bible that are the wisdom books, so it's extremely important. But just remember, as you read Proverbs don't teach that if you follow a proverb that you'll have instant success. Anyway, let's get back. I was getting sidetracked. As a newish parent, I'm finding it very handy to follow this principle and this proverb. I'm finding this shutdown in our lives very beneficial, as I've been able to spend more time with Jacinta and Henry. It's so much easier to have input and influence into our families' lives when we've not been snowed under with all the things and all the pressure that this life has to throw at us. As society starts to reopen up again, I think we all need to assess what really matters in our lives. What is really going to make an eternal difference? Investing time in our loved ones and teaching them the good news has to be up there as one of the important things. Now, the Christ Over Corona devotion uses punchy one-liners to finish off their devotions. And the discipleship devotion finishes something like this, and it says, "If Jesus uses a global pandemic to pass on the baton of faith to the next generation, it will be totally worth it." And I couldn't agree more with that statement. Positive point number 2, gratitude. Hasn't it been amazing to see in places like Europe and other countries where people have been hanging out of their windows and clapping and cheering on our emergency services? I've loved seeing the footage of streets lined with neighbours spending time applauding and thanking our first responders and our healthcare workers. There's also been a shift to have grace and gratitude for grocery store employees who have been dealing with some very highly strung people of late. I've also had a great laugh at all the memes doing the rounds on Facebook about parents who are stuck home with their kids and trying to work out how they're going to teach them a curriculum and all those things, and realising just how tough it is teachers have it to keeping their kids engaged and how hard it is to keep them focused and entertained day in and day out. Even us, as the humble farmers, have been shown love for the food that we produce. The challenging times have been bringing out the best in us. People are noticing the sacrifices that others are making in their everyday jobs. Now, sure, it's their job, and sure, they're getting paid, but hasn't it been nice to see people replace their criticism with thankfulness for those that have been serving us? Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building up others according to their needs. That it may benefit those who listen." Now, this verse is plucked out of an area in Ephesians that's titled Instructions for Christian Living. It's a really handy text to measure how you're living. So let's get rid of being judgmental of everybody and everything, and let's replace it with being grateful for those that are around us. Now, I'm not saying that we need to stop, we throw out accountability. I'm not saying that we have to stop having that. But I reckon we've probably went too far the other way and been too critical of those around us. And that's probably thanks to having 24-hour news and people analysing 24 hours a day. But things that I want on the other side of COVID is a more grateful heart. And remember, if gratitude isn't your thing, Jesus taught us that how we judge others will be the way that we get judged. So maybe a little bit extra gratitude and grace and a lot less criticism is going to go a long way post-COVID. Number 3, looking out for those around us. Isn't it funny that before coronavirus, we would have all loved some downtime chilling at home by ourselves? And now that the government's told us that we've actually got to stay at home wherever we can and whenever we can and social distance, all we want to do is get out and see people and be out and about. I remember before COVID, when I would go for a walk, I'd pick paths and routes that would have the least chance of running into people, just so that I could get my walk done and not be held up by having to chat to someone. And as I think about this, it was all about me, me, me. Now when I'm out going for a walk, I'm hoping that I do run into people, and then I'm hoping that I get to ask them how they're going. I've really begun to think about my neighbours. I've been wondering how they've been handling this time. Have they been feeling lonely? How are they going? So on and so on. It's been a real test of mine, considering the last time I spoke at church, I spoke about faith in action and reminding us to keep up our good works. Now, I've absolutely loved hearing that people have been cooking meals for others and that they've been checking in on one another. This is absolutely fantastic, and I want it to continue. This isolation, as annoying as it is, might just be worth it if we can pull ourselves out of our self-centered lives and actually look out for those that are around us and put them first. Now, there are piles of scriptures about this. Jesus said the whole law is built on this principle, to love God with all that you have and to love those as you love yourself. Positive number 4. COVID has been a reminder that we are not invincible and that we need to be humble. Before COVID arrived, we as a society had become so proud. Proud in our thinking, proud in our belief systems, proud in our achievements, proud in how we lived. So much so that groups in society started telling other groups how they should live. And if they didn't agree, they'd be ridiculed and excluded. Then COVID arrived and all that noise disappeared. No one was supergluing themselves to roads anymore. In fact, everyone started to work together to try and beat this virus. Priorities quickly changed, and it didn't matter how much money you had or how good your healthcare system was, everyone started working together to try and beat this thing. Humanity soon remembered that we aren't immortal. Even Tom Hanks, with all his wealth, while he was here in this safe country of Australia, with our great healthcare and everything that we have here, he still got the scare of his life when he contracted coronavirus. The virus has been a great reminder of just how fragile life is and how much we actually really need God. 1 Timothy 6 verse 17 says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides everything for our enjoyment." This week I rewatched Indescribable by Louis Giglio, and for those that don't know it, it's I think it was filmed in the late 90s or early 2000s, judging by the poor quality of the video. But Louis talks about the galaxies and creation, and just how massive the universe is. And while watching it, it's hard not to realise just how teeny-weeny we are in this universe. It makes you feel so insignificant, and it's very humbling. Now, that's not what Louis is trying to do in his message. His message is actually really about how special it is that a massive God who's created a massive universe would care to think about tiny little creation called us. And what's even more special is that he sent his son to die so that we may have a way to be back in right relationship with him. Now, if you haven't seen this video, Indescribable, just Google it and Google Louis Giglio Indescribable. It goes for about 40 minutes, which seems a long time, but I guarantee you it is fascinating. I hope post-COVID that we as a society won't fall back into our proud ways, where we think we can rely on our wealth, our fame and our beauty and our wisdom to save us. But instead I hope we can work together to rely on the Creator who is so willing to sustain us. Today's final positive out of Corona. It's a reminder of how good Sunday church gatherings are. Technology has been a real blessing in meeting online for church together. It's been fun watching so many devotions and so many different people share a message. But it's just not the same as being together. Actually, online isn't even a close second to how good a church gathering is. Errol and Carl and Rob spoke at Church Together last week about how there's something special about how corporate church gatherings meet. Worship together, fellowshipping together, corporate prayer. I mean, don't you just love it when you're at church and Sut starts heckling the speaker? What about watching people as they're coming in the door and those latecomers, how they try and sneak in, where it's impossible to sneak into our church because it's at the front, the door's at the front. I love the before and after conversations at church and the banter. I miss hearing the birthdays and wishing those people a special happy birthday for the coming week. All of a sudden, when we get back to church, I don't care whether the worship band is turned up way too loud or if someone's sitting in the seat that I like to sit in. I'm completely happy if there's going to be a noisy kid, which will probably be Henry, and he's being way too loud during the service. I don't care how out of tune we sound or whatever the distraction is, because all I want to do is be back at church where we can encourage and build each other up. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 19 through the next 20 verses touches on this very point and the importance of meeting together so that we can spur each other on and so that we don't slip away. So online has been good, but together is better. Guys, I hope I'm giving you some food for thought this morning. Things that I want post-COVID is that family discipleship, that gratitude over criticism, looking out for others, and remembering that we're not invincible and that we actually need our Creator. Let's stay humble, and how good is it with our renewed love of Sunday gatherings. I know the elders and the leaders are keen to hear what your thoughts are on what we should bring with us post-COVID and what we should leave behind. I hope this can continue the conversation and what church should look like post-COVID. And if you get the chance, make sure you have a look at the devotion called Christ Over Corona. It's a great silver linings devotion during COVID and this isolation. And before I close in prayer, I just have to say unprecedented, because it just wouldn't be a Corona conversation if you didn't have unprecedented jammed down your throats. So bless you guys in this unprecedented time, and let's pray together. Dear God, thank you that your word never fails. Thank you that amongst all the darkness, you are shining your light through us. God, as we transition from shutdown to open, I pray that you would shine through us your discipleship, your gratitude. May we put others first as we walk into this new normal. I ask that you would bless us with your wisdom and protection as we choose to put your eternal things first. God, I just thank you for all that you are doing in this time, and I just pray that you would keep us safe. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic week, and keep tuning in for the devotions. And yeah, bless you. I hope this can really spur you on to think about the positive things that we can bring with us post-COVID. Hope you have a great week. Bless you guys.